Hey guys, it's the Loud Guys. Today we are going to watch why the US is not afraid of the largest navy in the world. So we all knew that the largest navy is US Navy. So what is this video talking about? So I am very interested to see what it is all about because for us US is the largest navy. Previously Royal Navy or the British Navy used to be the biggest navy in the world, and that is why they conquered the whole world. And now we'll see what it is all about. Which navy are they talking about? Is it China? Is it Russia? What are they talking about?
And yes, I was also, got shocked when I, saw the title. For me, the strongest and the largest navy was the U.S. Navy. But the title is that the why the U.S. is not afraid of the largest navy. So I was like, okay, so U.S. is not afraid by itself. So it was very, strange for me. Maybe U.S. is not, afraid by the second largest navy army, or we have the wrong idea that the US is the largest navy. So our confusion will be get solved after watching this video only. So yeah, let's watch the video.
It will be interesting to watch. So let's start the video.
Just over a decade ago, China had 0 aircraft carriers, but today it has 3 in the water. China now possesses the largest navy in the world, with over 340 warships that include cutting-edge destroyers and cruisers. In contrast, the US Navy has just over 280 ships ready to deploy. On top of that, the People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, is on track to add another 70 warships by 2030, compared to the US Navy's best-case scenario of adding just 42. The scale of the Chinese military buildup is enormous.
Wow.
For reference, just one Jiangjiang Changqing shipyard in Shanghai is larger than all 7 US naval shipyards combined.
Oh.
Here's the smaller Dalian shipyard in China, which is building 5 destroyers at the same time. Compare that to the United States, which can barely build 2 Arleigh destroyers per year. But here's the caveat. It's not all gloom and doom for now.
So?
Yes, China has more warships, but they are much smaller.
How?
In fact, the median US Navy ship, the Arleigh-class destroyer, displaces up to 9,500 tons, while the median planned ship, which is a Type 54 frigate, displaces about 4,000 tons.
Oh, it's bigger.
Combined, the US Navy fleet weighs about 4.5 million tons, while the Chinese mighty fleet weighs just over 2 million tons.
Oh.
But bigger is not always better.
Yeah.
It sometimes is. Similarly, when it comes to these aircraft carriers, they are not as scary as you might think, which makes you wonder, what is the real purpose of these 3 Chinese aircraft carriers? Why is China building fake American aircraft carriers in the middle of a desert and creating artificial islands in the middle of a sea? And more importantly, why during a Chinese invasion of Taiwan wargame, the United States always loses its 2 aircraft carriers is not what you think.
Oh. I think so.
China's fleet of aircraft carriers currently consists of 2 active carriers, 1 under construction and at least 1 more planned. The 60,000-ton Type 1 Chinese aircraft carrier, Liaoning, is actually the ex-Soviet aircraft carrier Varyag, which China bought from Ukraine under the pretext of converting it into an amusement park.
Huh?
To be fair, China did indeed buy an older Kiev-class aircraft cruiser, which it did use as a theme park between 2000 and 2016.
As a theme park?
Nevertheless, when it comes to Varyag, after a decade of refurbishments, China commissioned her in 2012 with an air wing of up to 34 aircraft. 24 of those aircraft are J-15s, which are basically reverse-engineered clones of the Russian Su-33.
Oh, Sukhoi 33.
Just like her Russian half-sister, the Admiral Kuznetsov, Liaoning relies on short takeoff barrier-assisted recovery known as STOBAR to perform rolling launches of its J-15 fighters from a ski ramp. That's in contrast to the catapults used by the US Navy. The Type 2 Shandong aircraft carrier is a domestically produced copy of the Kuznetsov-class carrier, as she incorporates lessons learned from the Liaoning experience.
Oh.
Shandong is slightly larger than Liaoning, up to 10,000 tons heavier, and she can handle up to 40 aircraft, including 36 J-15s.
36.
The third aircraft carrier, The Type 3 Fujian was laid down in 2016 and launched in the summer of 2022. She is even larger than Shandong, with a displacement of 80,000 tons. But more importantly, Fujian would be the first Chinese flat top with catapults. And not just regular catapults, but 3 electromagnetic catapults, similar to the ones pioneered on the American Ford-class aircraft
So
carriers.
now they are making it.
The ship is expected to be operational as early as 2024 and will carry a new catapult-capable version of the J-15 fighter and a new stealthy J-31, which is often referred to as J-35. Moreover, the Chinese are rumored to be developing the Type 4 aircraft carrier design, which would be as big as the American supercarriers with a displacement of 100,000 tons, featuring nuclear propulsion.
Oh no.
In total, it's believed that the Chinese are planning to procure as many as 6 aircraft carriers in the near future. But how do the Chinese carriers stack up against the American supercarriers?
Yeah.
The currently commissioned Liaoning and Shandong carriers are almost half the size of the American Nimitz and Ford-class supercarriers and can carry only half as many aircraft that are routinely embarked on the American flat tops. Even Fujian would be 20% smaller. When it comes to an aircraft carrier, bigger is better.
Bigger is better.
Only Nimitz and Ford-class carriers have sufficient deck space and support facilities to operate aircraft 24/7 over a target area. Moreover, because Liaoning and Shandong use a ski jump to launch aircraft, those fighters are severely limited by their takeoff weight. This means they can carry less fuel and less weapons compared to their American counterparts.
So that is a big advantage.
Another current limitation of the Chinese aircraft carriers is that they're conventionally powered. This means that they cannot operate independently of their slow-moving fleet of oilers. Additionally, being nuclear powered would free up space on the deck and hangar for more airplanes because they don't need bulky air intakes and exhausts.
Yes.
But maybe the biggest limitation of the current Chinese carriers is that they cannot launch heavier airplanes like the E-2 Hawkeye. Early warning aircraft like the E-2 are extremely important because when flying at altitude, their radar can see at least 3 times farther than the Aegis radar on a cruiser or destroyer.
Oh.
This is due to the curvature of the Earth, which limits the range of ship-based radars when attempting to detect low-altitude or surface targets beyond the horizon. Oh, we lost 2 subscribers. Must have been flat earthers. The advantage of looking down on the battle space greatly improves situational awareness, especially when it comes to early detection of airborne threats. As a result, the Chinese have to instead rely on land-based airplanes for surveillance, or Z-18 helicopters equipped with a 360-degree airborne radar. That said, the Z-18s cannot operate for long periods of time or at high altitudes, which reduces their radar range, and that severely degrades battle space awareness.
So America has an advantage.
Nevertheless, Fujian and the future nuclear carriers are steadily on the course to match American supercarrier capabilities. Catapults would allow Fujian to launch heavy aircraft such as KJ-600 airborne early warning and control aircraft. It looks awfully similar to the American E-2 Hawkeye, doesn't it? But realistically, to match American capabilities, it would take China many years. Just the electromagnetic catapults alone, which took the Americans over a decade to perfect, will be a big challenge for the Chinese. But you have to go beyond the number of ships, number of aircraft, and weapon ranges to understand the potential threats, because what really matters is operational capability and geometry. In other words, expertise. Carrier operations is no easy task, and China has to figure out all that by itself, and do it fast. The US Navy has operated aircraft carriers for over a century, and China for just over a decade. China knows that they know little, and they're extremely risk-averse when it comes to carrier operations. In fact, China is yet to suffer a major flight deck incident.
Oh, wow.
They know that American mastery of carrier operations came at the high cost of aircraft and lives.
Oh.
Even though China won't admit it, Reuters reviewed dozens of articles published in state-linked journals, which reveal awareness among Chinese military analysts about shortcomings in the country's carrier capabilities. There is still a huge gap between sailor training levels and combat requirements. The article elaborates by highlighting that the Chinese carriers do not routinely conduct flight deck operations at night or in adverse weather, like the Americans do.
Okay.
While domestic Chinese news agencies proclaim that their aircraft carriers' intensive aircraft sorties are evidence of a high combat capability, a close examination of the recent exercises reveal a different picture. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force provides excellent public reporting on how the Chinese Navy is operating in the East China Sea and the Philippine Sea. According to these reports, Chinese aircraft carriers always operate in the range of diversion airfields as backups, as opposed to blue water operations.
Oh.
Blue water ops means that aircraft can only take off from the carrier and land back on the same carrier, as it would be outside the range of diversion airfields or aerial refueling. True blue water ops are a high-risk endeavor because the only option is 100% onboard recovery or losing an aircraft.
Oh no.
According to the Japanese data, in 2021 and 2022, Liaoning conducted fixed-wing flight operations between 300 to 740 nautical miles from a diversion airfield. The J-15 has a high-altitude transit range of more than 1,600 nautical miles, which allows it to safely make it back to an airfield, even with 50% fuel remaining.
Oh.
Furthermore, most of the time, the J-15 would fly clean or with very few light air-to-air missiles in order to maximize its fuel reserves in case of a diversion and reduce overall risk to the carrier operations. In May 2022, Liaoning conducted 300 aircraft sorties during its deployment. It averaged fewer than 20 fighter sorties per day. China declared it as a decent number of sorties for training. For reference, around the same time, USS Gerald R. Ford set a record of completing 170 sorties in 8.5 hours of
Big
training.
margin.
Only in December 2022, the Chinese carrier Liaoning finally conducted its first true blue water operations, as they were conducting flight operations just west of Guam. At the time, the carrier was 1,300 nautical miles away from any diversion airfield. But what does China want? Well, the short story is that beside getting Taiwan, they want to be a true superpower. The long story is that the Chinese have outlined a series of goals, with the main one being to achieve a strong, democratic, civilized, harmonious, and modern socialist country by 2049, to celebrate the centenary of the founding of People's Republic of China.
Seriously, this video was so shocking, but because earlier we used to think that the world's biggest navy army was America, but we were wrong. That the world's largest navy army is China, and it is the biggest army. We cannot say that it is the strongest army, because still the strongest navy army is America only. Firstly, they were talking about the man, like Chinese army has more people rather than any, a navy. So that was the reason that why Chinese army is, biggest army. And after that they talked about the ships and all. They talked that how many, ships the China has, how many equipment China has. But yes, they have the half of the equipment as America. So that was, again shocking for us. And we can say that still the strongest army is still the strongest navy army is America only, because they have those toughest, they have those strongest equipment, they have strong technology. But yes, we can say that China is giving a competition, good competition to the America, because because China want to become the, you know, superpower. So that's the reason. And yes, this video was so informative and we got to learn a lot of things about it. But yes, the names which they were talking about, the you know, equipment was going through my head, going through over my head, because those names were so tough. Those names were of Chinese, so that's the reason those names were getting out of my head. So yeah, otherwise I really enjoyed them.
Yes, I think so. This video was all about quantity versus quality, because yes, China has the higher number of aircrafts, but yes, the quality of US fighters cannot be, you know, judged by just the quantity of the Chinese the jets or the things that they have. And also the aircraft carriers of China are normally, you know, that was very very funny to see. Like at first 1 or 2 aircrafts were theme parks for them, and they bought them as theme parks, and then they made it out, and then they started to make those whole big aircraft carriers. So that is why. And also, like, they bought it from Russia, and you know, like, American technology has always been ahead of the Russian technology. Yes, there has been a big fight, but always America has been on the top. So what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share, and
Subscribe.
bye.